Welcome to another episode of PuckPod Sports. I'm Bryan and I'm back. I'm also here with David and Cristian.
Welcome
You
back.
guys probably had a Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a long couple of
Missed you,
weeks.
Bryan. Missed you, buddy.
Missed you guys too. It's weird because I'm so used to seeing and talking to you guys every single day, but obviously the past couple of weeks I've been busy with school, lots of depression, lots of assignments. Um, it's been a mess, and I'm still catching up because we had the recruiting season, and hopefully I land, but we'll see. Dave, Cristian, I know you guys had a very eventful week. Tell me about it.
Where do
I mean,
where do you
we'll
want to
outline
start?
it. Yeah, I mean, we'll go very brief, and then we'll get into more of it. At least the all-star part we'll get into after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Dave got a chance to go to Thursday night the draft at Scotiabank Arena, the All-Star draft. Some pretty cool people there. Other than the NHLers, the celebrity coaches for lots to talk about with those guys there. So
Yeah.
we'll get into
Yeah.
that, and then yeah. Last night, me and Dave were at the Spinning Chicklets meet and greet at King Taps downtown Toronto on King Street. Also a really good vibe, really
Great
good
time.
night,
Great
really
time.
good
restaurant.
time. Great to talk to some of those guys, and then we watched the skills comp. So that was kind of our week. I couldn't tell you what I did before these past 2 days. All
Just a
the
lot of
school and stuff.
school.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of
lots of
school.
reading, lots of what me and Dave have been saying for the past 3 weeks.
I don't know if
Anything
you guys,
Yeah.
are doing school, but Anyway, let's do Elias Lindholm. He gets traded to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Andrei Kuzmenko, 2 prospects, a first and a fourth. How are we feeling after this? Because I know I wanted Lindholm in DC.
Yeah,
I'm
a lot
sure
of
a
people
lot
did.
of teams. Yeah.
Well, one thing of note is that the Canucks trade for their guy and also free up, was it a mil in cap space or a mil and a half?
It's almost 2 mil. It's like a
Almost 2
mil
mil.
7.5.
Yeah. So that's crazy. You love that. But I think Andrei Kuzmenko in Calgary could be a fit if they can get him on the power, give him some power play time, give him his cookies there, because he's shooting at a pretty poor shooting percentage right now. Granted, his shooting percentage last year was at 27% or something ridiculous. So it's not like the end of the world for Calgary, but obviously they're giving up a pretty good player, right?
I actually like the return they got a lot in the sense that Kuzmenko had close to 40 goals last year, no?
Yeah.
I think he had 40. He had 39. 39 for 74 points in 81 games. Yeah. I agree, Bryan. I do think the return is pretty good. There's a world where Kuzmenko bounces back and gives you similar production to what Vancouver might get out of Lindholm, plus all of the other goodies, right? First round pick, fourth round pick, Hunter Burstovich and Yoni Yermo. Correction on the cap change. They get an extra 650k in cap space for the Canucks. It's not that much, but still a little something.
I
But
thought
the
it was a
Canucks,
mil.
I thought so too. Lindholm makes 4.85 this year, and Kuzmenko makes 5.5.
Okay.
So that's the difference there. Yeah, I would say my first reaction was that it's a fair trade because I do think people are starting to underrate Lindholm a bit just because we haven't seen him in the spotlight on a pretty mid Calgary team the past 2 years. So I think that's the difference between people really realizing how good he is. He's going to automatically be their number one shutdown guy. So he frees up PD and Miller and Besser and these guys to just focus on offense first, get the secondary matchup, and Lindholm can take the hard minutes, can penalty kill, can play on the power play, can do everything. So I do think people are underrating him a bit. And if they find a way to re-sign him, just validates the trade even more. But definitely a good return for Calgary. I do like it a lot.
Going back to Calgary and Kuzmenko, I just wanted to say that they finally have a finisher now. They have a team of rosters full of all these playmakers. At least they have a little bit of extra finish and firepower in Kuzmenko. Going back to Lindholm now, I just wanted to ask you guys: Does this move the needle at all for you? Or the Canucks
For the Canucks?
contenders? Yeah.
Well, It certainly does quite like it. Obviously, it will do quite a bit for them. Right now, Daily Faceoff has Lindholm playing as the top line center. I don't think he should be there, so they moved JT Miller down. I think you keep was it the Lotto 647 line going? It's
649.
PD Miller Besser.
Yep.
Uh, if you're able to move guys like Pew Suter down the lineup, if you're able to move guys like, I don't know, Mikheyev down the lineup, like if they don't have to be on your second line, like I know Mikheyev's a winger, he'd probably be moving like Pew Suter down the line. Teddy Bluger moves down a line probably as well to like a 4C. Dude, if you down the middle, you're rocking Lindholm, Miller, or sorry, it'd be Lindholm. Who did I say?
Pedersen,
Pedersen,
Bluger,
Pedersen, Lindholm, Bluger, and then
Suter, or
Hugh
yeah.
Suter there. Yeah, that's a pretty good forward core. They already made their other move with Nikita Zadorov, and I heard rumors that they were shopping him around as well.
I don't know
Uh
where the hell that came from, man. I like that makes zero sense.
I
Zero.
I mean, if
don't
they can get
know.
an upgrade,
Yeah.
if they can get an upgrade as Zadorov, I could totally see them trying to. I mean, they definitely have something special this year. In regards to moving the needle, I think it kind of does. I think that like Lindholm is definitely an upgrade over Kuzmenko, and plus Lindholm's a center, so I'm excited to see what happens here with this Vancouver team.
Well,
It kind of
Yeah.
Vancouver's got the just like the key qualities for cup contention, right? Like their top two centers are like fantastic. Like they have a fantastic like offensively minded center. They have a fantastic defensively minded center, somebody who could play the penalty kill. Uh they have like otherworldly scoring in guys like Brock Besser and JT Miller who are like still in the top. I think they're in the top 15 still in league scoring. You have your stud defenseman who does like everything except for playing a bit of defense, Quinn Hughes, and you have your Vezina contending goaltender. Like those are like four key qualities to make, if not if not to win the cup, a deep cup run this year.
fingers crossed that Vancouver does well. Final grades, Cristian, what are you giving them?
I'm going A- for Calgary, B+ for Vancouver. I'm giving the edge to Calgary, and I'm actually switching my mind on this one because I did have it the other way around as early as a day ago. But I really do think Kuzmenko is, once again, just like Lindholm, being underrated a bit. I definitely think he can bounce back. I'm trying to look at his stats from the back half of last year with Vancouver, because basically what this all came down to is him not getting along or seeing eye to eye on tactics with Rick Tocchet, right? But I'm seeing from December 1st last year to the end of the season, he scored 53 points in 59 games, 28 goals. So that's a big chunk of Tocchet's time taking over Vancouver. I don't know how it went so wrong this season, and I have a feeling the talent just takes over and we see him come back to at least 75% of what he was last season.
David, what are your grades?
I have the exact same thought as I think I have an A for Vancouver because like Lindholm is probably the biggest fish on the market, and to get him is a steal, I think, regardless. Like that is they addressed a team need in Vancouver. They were missing center depth and they got their center depth. So I don't think you could rank that any lower. But for Calgary to get the like to for them to even get a roster player of note, somebody of Kuzmenko's quality who can be, like we said before, a almost 40 goal scorer. If you can get, if your return, if Kuzmenko gives you 25 goals a season, I don't hate that.
I like that. I'm giving two B pluses, waiting on extensions and stuff like that before I give any A's. Anyway, let's move into what could be deemed as the bigger trade. Sean Monahan gets traded to the Jets for a first. Well done, Kent Hughes, I think. I think that they they took Monahan on and they got paid a first, and now they dump him out for another first. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
You
pretty
wouldn't
good
happen
got
to
that
know
right.
who was responsible for that, Bryan. Like you wouldn't happen to know like who traded Monahan to Montreal with the
Yeah,
first.
it's Calgary, I think.
Who's that?
Who's that guy? What's that guy's name? The guy who ran Calgary
Is
might
that
not might
Trad?
know what.
Is that Trad
Trad.
Reliving?
Was it him that did it?
It was him.
Yeah,
It was
Oh,
Brad.
why?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Listen, I'm not trying to throw shade at Brad here. I mean, that definitely sounded like I was trying to, but it's worth pointing out. We'll see if it becomes relevant at all. But yeah, I hate how many times we've had to say, well, good job, Kent Hughes, in the past year. Basically, since the end of last season, we've been saying, great job, Kent Hughes. I don't like it at all. I hate it, to be honest. But no, it's a really good trade for Montreal. It's a decent trade for Winnipeg too. I've been on the Monahan train since the start of the season. I've been paying attention to his stats, his faceoff percentage, his penalty kill time, everything. I'm a big fan. And I do think Winnipeg did really good. It was Dave who pointed out this would be a really good fit. And we just he noticed something that he can talk about during the Jets Leafs game that Winnipeg was really struggling with. That Monahan's going to help them with a lot. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think he can be a 2C for them once Scheifele comes back. That's part of their struggles right now. You're talking down the middle: Scheifele, Monahan, Lowry. And then I don't know if you can put a 4C, but it's a pretty good, like Rasmus Kapari, for example. That's pretty good depth. It's funny how like I feel like we do Groundhog Day with the Jets every year. It's like which 2C are they going to get? Like how many 2Cs are we talking now? It's been like Paul Stastny, Kevin Hayes, Sean Monahan. That's always what they're looking for. But I like this one a lot. I like it.
So,
Dave?
so I just found a stat that I didn't search up this stat, Cristian, before because
Okay.
I forgot, right? But this is just gonna validate my point so much. So the stat in question was so the other night the Leafs were playing the Jets. So the Leafs have the
This was game
second
2
yes,
of
the Leafs have
Leafs
the
versus Jets.
currently the second ranked face-off percentage, like by team in the NHL.
Do you have his number one? I'm just curious. Or
Number one is the Penguins at 55.4. Number two is the
okay.
Leafs with 54.5.
Okay.
Does anybody know or want to take a stab at where the Jets rank this season in face-off percentage?
I'll go 28.
Okay.
I'll go 31st.
31st. Bryan, you are closer because they are dead last with
Wow,
46.7.
man. Holy
And
crap.
the to put a caveat on that, the Habs have a 53.1 percentage, good for 6th right now in the NHL. So clearly, like I noticed it just as a fan, like the Leafs who have a very good power play were just like I think it was it was a 70-30 split, which in this current NHL, like in the current NHL, just doesn't really happen. Like it's very, very rare where you see splits like that. They're normally like a 55-45 split. So it got me curious. I was like, maybe they do need some center help. And you listed off the centers before, Cristian. It's Scheifele. Who else is there? Adam Lowry.
Now Monahan.
Now
Nemesnikov could play some
Monahan.
center.
Okay. So you add Monahan, who is one of the top face-off percentage guys
He's
in
at
that league.
55% right now.
That's fantastic.
Oh my god.
That
Yeah.
is quite literally like not all that they need, but that definitely helps. Like if you can't win a face-off in your D zone and you just constantly like hem your D in, you could have 6 Norris winning like defenders on your back end. But if you can't win a draw and you just keep them on the back foot the whole time, there's a good chance that the Jets have been fantastic all season, but how much of that is on the back of their goaltending and their strength defensively? Imagine now if they can win a couple D zone draws, win a couple O zone draws so that they don't have to, immediately retreat and go back on D. Like that could be a team that that nobody would want to play, right? Now, I'm not going to say like the Jets are now, because they added Sean Monahan, are going to finish first in the NHL in faceoff percentage. That's not what I'm saying, but I
It
think
helps.
for a team that has the Jets quality and they're second or third in the league right now, and they're dead last in faceoff percentage, if they can bring that up to 20th in the league, Sean Monahan has done his job.
I like that take.
I'll piggyback off of that. They might not be first in faceoff percentage. They might be first overall in the NHL, though. They really might be at the end of the season. I'm looking at their lineup right now. Their forward depth now is insane. Their worst forward is probably Morgan Barron, who is someone that I think a lot of people like, especially after how he performed in the playoffs last year. Really quick here. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Gabe Vilardi, Cole Perfetti, Sean Monahan, Nick Ehlers, Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton, Barron, Nemestikov, Iafallo's on your fourth line. You're
Are
doing
you
something right.
are you asking me who do I not want on that team? Because right now for the Leafs, I would plug and play
Yeah.
all 12 of those
Yes.
guys.
Yes. So yeah, like their team is their forward depth specifically is really great now. I'd say they're one defenseman away from being like maybe not contenders. They might have to be favorites, at least in the West. Like that's a very impressive team now. Very impressive.
Tell me about the guy between the pipes.
Yeah, 927.
I mean,
I just looked at Brossois. He's got a 924, man.
yeah.
Like they've been
Dude,
phenomenal.
top to bottom. Like if Dylan Sandberg is probably their worst player, like overall, like wise.
He
on the
scored
team.
against the Leafs.
And he scored he had a laser beam against the Leafs. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough. Maybe they just stand pat for the rest of the deadline. They could stand pat and potentially make a run at it. It's going to be tough though in the West. Like last year we saw a lot of Eastern teams kind of loading up, and I think this year we're going to see a lot more like those Western, especially Western Canada. Like the Oilers might have to make a move. I'm saying that as they're currently on a 16-game winning streak. Like both the Canucks and the Jets made their moves.
The Avs are going to make a move. The Stars.
The Avs are looking to make a move. The Kings, we're going to talk about later, might have to make a move to save their season. Like who knows?
Yeah.
So it might be the West's year to like kind of run the show at the deadline, but that also comes into play because like the East still needs to make quite a few moves as well. Like, or at least we think that they have to make some moves, but they might not have the cap or the assets to do so, right? So I guess we'll see.
They wasted all their bullets last year.
Really quick before grades, Brian, and let's not get like too in the weeds on this, but just a question for you guys. After these two trades, best team in Canada? Oh, actually, I'm not even gonna ask that question because it might be the Oilers. Who's the better team after these two trades? Jets or Canucks?
Who comes out better?
More? Who comes out on top?
Canucks.
I'm still leaning Canucks. Yeah,
I'm still leaning Canucks too, but that I don't want to like. I don't think
it's
that's
a razor
slight
thin.
Against. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It's
a 51 to 49 advantage right now for the Canucks.
I agree with that. All right, grades. Montreal, I'm giving an A, and for Winnipeg, I'm giving a B plus. They got their guy, but they paid.
Yeah,
I'll go A Montreal, B Winnipeg.
I'm gonna go A plus Montreal because if you can get a player who was kind of casted off for a first, and then also get a first for that guy, so you got 2 firsts for one guy. Man, great move. I was clowning our Montreal Canadiens friends over the past week. I was like, yeah, Monahan, he's not good. He's not. But secretly, I'm like,
he's fourth liner.
He's not even good. I was like, but secretly, I was like, damn, what a haul. Like, yeah. So it's an A plus for me for Montreal, and I will give Winnipeg a B plus. It's a bit of an overpay, but it's what you got to do.
I will also say this: that first round pick that Winnipeg gave to Montreal is 100% unprotected. So I guess the Jets know that they're going to be contenders.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, let's move into our next topic. Keeping in the West, the Kings fired their head coach Todd McLellan.
Talk about a team who might not be contenders.
Yeah. Well, they were. They might not be anymore.
What happened? They were good like a month ago when I was like,
6 weeks ago. It was like
can I tell you
6 weeks ago their season changed.
Can I tell you what happened? I gave this stat to Dave as well.
Is that look to watch?
No, but we could definitely do a lot of that. I told this to Dave, but before I tell you that, let me ask you this question: what happened to the Oilers to start the season? Why did Jay Woodcroft get fired?
Because he had no goaltending.
Yeah.
Cam Talbot hasn't won a game since Christmas. Cam Talbot hasn't won a game in the calendar year of 2024. That's the
Ugh.
difference. That's the difference. When your goalie doesn't, when your starting goalie, projected starting goalie, cannot win you a game a month into the new year, that's gonna sink you big time. There's more than that, but that's gonna always be the primary thing. I think McLellan being let go, I think it's more the wrong decision than the right decision. It's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I know they've been on this skid for a while, basically since even before the Leafs put a pounding on them when we were on the West Coast trip. But they're going Jim Hiller interim head coach. If they're sticking with Jim Hiller for the rest of the season, they can kiss the season. Maybe not goodbye. Like they might make the playoffs, but I'm not taking them to go far.
You think that's going to be another year where they just get matched up against Edmonton and get smashed in the first round?
I think this year, even if they don't get matched up against Edmonton, they might be in a world of hurt. You need to have a better coach than Jim Hiller. Like Jim Hiller is the former Maple Leafs power play coach when Mike Babcock was here. There were some problems with that power play at times. I don't know. He's not someone I want to hang my playoff hopes and dreams on. Like there's guys like I don't know if Craig Berube is a good fit in LA because I think LA is a lot more analytical. Not really a fit for Berube. I could maybe see Dean Evison. Could maybe if I squint, but I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who the next guy is for LA, and I think they have to get that figured out.
So, you guys want to know, since the turn of the new year, do you know how many games the LA Kings have won in the month of January and kind of spilling into February?
How many games have they played since then?
They have played 15 games in the month of
I,
January.
I'm going 2 and
I'm
13.
going 6.
6? They have won 3 games in the month of
Oh,
January.
yeah.
They picked up 6 points out of a possible 30. Not great. Yeah, you mentioned Jim Hiller. I just remember, like, I don't know if you remember, like, the talents on that. I know you remember, Cristian, but the talents on that Leaf power play, they just never seem to always be in cohesion. There used to be stretches where teams would just figure us out and there would just be no change. That's what it felt like to me. There was like they would kind of get stuck in the mud. They'd be thinking of one way to do things and they would never like change up the way that they did it. You know what I
I would
mean?
just isolate it to like just the playoffs. Like our power play, I probably still hasn't been the best in the playoffs, but specifically back then in the Babcock era, our power play choked in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of that on him.
It's crazy because LA had such a great start. Like there are people saying that like this was the team. You know,
Yeah.
especially
for the beginning part of the season, they were the team to beat. Like LA, you look at their 3 centers. And now you have Kopitar, you have Danault, you have Pierre-Luc Dubois. If you put Pierre-Luc Dubois as your 3C and you run like a 3-headed monster like that, like there's not many teams that can compete against you. Whether you like Dubois or not, like whatever your feelings are, he still is a quality hockey player when he is at his best. But you know, he's not been at his best.
He's not been at his best at all. He's got 20 points in 48 games, 10 goals, 10 assists.
It's a lot more than I thought he would have, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that McLellan did not really obviously he didn't get the most he could out of him. I think he had a public quote a couple like this week of basically saying like he's got to get it figured out. We're this far into the season, like there's nothing else to it. Like it's up to him.
Sounds like coaches in his past too. He's got to get it figured out. Was Rick Bowness not saying that? Was Paul Maurice not saying that?
It's crazy because he played like at least in the playoffs last year. He was good for the Jets. Like he had found something there, and it was him who said, "I don't want to be here." After figuring it out, kind of down the stretch, he was good for them in the playoffs. Okay, so here's where I'm struggling because I've been the proponent of go cheap and net, build the hell out of your roster, and the goaltending will take care of itself. And this is proving that to not really be the case. So maybe it is a problem with the roster, just the roster itself, players, the forwards and defense. Like Dubois, I know Kaliev is someone who I really like, but this is another guy who's been healthy scratched, hasn't been playing a lot when he does get into the lineup on the fourth line. Maybe they just don't have a good mix right now. Maybe they are trying to put square pegs into round holes.
And it sucks too because like you have Byfield finally coming up and being the player that he should have been
Yeah,
for so long. And I don't know. I just find it interesting how this all occurred. You guys think there's any correlation between Winnipeg's rise up and LA's downfall, especially given that
With
they
Dubois.
traded a specific player? Yeah. You guys think there's correlation there?
Listen,
we've been saying it.
we've been saying it. We have been, but we're not gonna like. I think it would be unfair to
Right.
Pierre-Luc if we just dump it all on him. But there is
Yeah.
clear correlation that wherever he plays, there's been like miserable stretches for their teams. Like even dating back to his days in Columbus, like the reason why he got shipped out of Columbus, they were on a losing streak, and he's kind of just loafing out on the ice.
That
John,
one shift,
that was
man. That one shift where he
John
came back
Tortorella.
and Torts lost it on him.
Yeah, like John Tortorella was his. If John Tortorella is not getting the best out of you, I think warning signs might like we should have had
Might have to
big
look within.
red flags right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we talked a lot about Kent Hughes and what a good deal he made and all the good deals he made. The best deal he didn't make is trading for Pierre-Luc Dubois this summer. So
Any team that
Yeah.
was interested probably just dodged the biggest bullet. And shout out to Winnipeg for like quite literally rebuilding their team in the matter of one trade, basically, right?
Yeah,
But
you're not wrong
one
about
trade
that.
plus a couple other like departures, like it's gonna gloss over it, but you know, the
Before
value
we
they
head
got
off,
in return, crazy. Yeah.
before we jump topics, I just want to ask, um, do the Kings still make the playoffs? Yes or no? Because 6 points in what a possible 30 is
Bad.
looking like Chicago numbers.
Yeah.
They might lose out on the divisional spot because Vegas, Edmonton, Vancouver. But I'm still taking LA on a season-long sample size over like Nashville, St. Louis, Seattle, Calgary, right? Like they're the best of the rest. That's what they are.
So yeah, they currently hold the first wildcard spot, 2 points in front of the Blues, and they do have a game in hand. Like Cristian said, I don't see any of those teams under them. Like the Blues are there. Could they miss out? I don't know. Like Nashville, Seattle, Arizona's been better recently. But I don't think any of those teams have enough to get over the line. I think the Kings are just gonna like just crawl into a play unless they completely tailspin with this firing. So that's another thing too. Like who knows how the rest maybe this firing does just rejuvenate something. Maybe they just needed that voice in there, even though they're hiring from within. Who knows?
One last point I just wanted to point out. It looks like the divisional spots in the West are held by the cream of the crop, the best in the league, the ones that everybody wants to be and beat, and then the rest. So, yeah.
There's a very clear line. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about something more positive, something that we've all been waiting for a very long time. International hockey is back. There is a four nations face-off between what I assume to be Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada. And the NHL is also making a return to the Olympics in 2026 and 2030. The wait is over.
The wait is over, but it's also just beginning because now we eagerly just wait for 2026. We wait, right? So,
Yes.
just on the first tournament, I think we can get this one out of the way. It's going to be called the Four Nations Face Off. It's going to be taking place next year. And I'll just read here the little blurb that the NHL provided us on basically how this is going to work. So all games in the Four Nations Face Off will be played with NHL rules Each team will play 3 games in a round robin format under the IIHF point system. So 3 points for a win in regulation, 2 for a win in OT or shootout, 1 point for a loss in OT or shootout, or 0 points for a loss in regulation. The 2 teams with the best record will advance to the 1-game final, and the overtime format for round robin games will be 3-on-3 sudden death for 10 minutes, followed by a shootout. And the gold medal game or the finals will be golden goal, OT playoff style, 20-minute periods, 5-on-5 until somebody scores. So listen, better than the All-Star game for next year. We're not going to have an All-Star game. This will take place during the break. So that'll be awesome. I know I was a Debbie Downer on it when it was announced, but listen, we'll take it for now, and I think it'll help build some of the tension for the Olympics, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, dude, everything that you said, like, no gimmicks. Well, I mean, granted, the tournament is a gimmick, but no gimmicks, like, in terms of the actual product on the ice. You know what I mean?
Team North America, Team Europe. Yeah. You don't want
100%.
those?
I'm applauding them that they didn't go like a best of. I thought that they were gonna do like a best of 3 final, just because they want the extra games in there. I'm glad it's one and done. Like, you get to that final, it's all chips on the table, all bets are off, best team wins, basically. I mean, listen, would we like to have seen a couple other teams in there? Like, do we want to see maybe Czechia in there or Germany? Like, we're losing a lot of talented players, but not having them there. We are.
Yeah, that's my one complaint, because I've been saying, like, even without the other team, the team that's got some stuff going on globally, you could fill an 18 tournament. Okay,
yeah,
they could have, but the reason they wouldn't do that is because it would have to include non-NHLers, and that's exactly why it's a 14 tournament where every single player will be from the NHL.
Yeah,
for better or for worse. I mean,
they are aiming for World Cup down the road, so kudos there.
Yeah,
but not yet.
I would love to see another World Cup like that.
So would that come in between 2026 and 2030? So 2028 tentative date probably
they are looking for 2028 and 2032 for World Cups.
Okay.
Should also mention host cities for 4 Nations face-off: Montreal and Boston.
Okay.
Montreal and Boston, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Montreal's not going to be doing much in February next year, so.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. I do want to say this. It'll be fun to see Jack and Quinn Hughes play together. It'll
Maybe
also
Luke.
be fun. Maybe Luke too. It'll also be fun seeing the Chucks play together. And for Team Canada, it'd be nice to see McDavid finally get his chance to play with Crosby.
Dude, Bryan.
David Crosby, Bedard. Okay.
Yeah, we've been kind of like manifesting that line like over, and there was a picture of the 3 of them over this All-Star weekend, and Cristian, like, I think has it saved to his phone because like he got it. He's like, oh man, that would be some line. Like, could you just imagine? Just imagine like a goal scored by. Imagine a golden goal scored by Bedard, but set up by like Sidney Crosby this time.
Yeah,
like
just generation to generation. Like,
yeah,
those photos will be gold. Like,
yeah.
Give me that. Just on the Olympics, like, awesome. We're going back. 2026. It's in Milan, Italy. Dave, we should make a homecoming trip maybe or something. I don't know.
I'm down.
2030 is TBD. But let's go. NHLers to Italy. Sure, I'm sure they want to go there. Of course.
Oh yeah,
Really?
with the way that they style themselves now.
Yeah,
right.
Love to go. Yeah. And we're gonna have Team Italy in this as well for hockey. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see what Vaughn or Woodbridge converts we have to Team Italy. There's got to be some. There's got to be.
There's got to be a few.
Someone's gonna get a call up. Someone from our hometown.
It might be one of us, honestly. Bryan, you might get a call up just because you lived in Woodbridge.
Hey, you're from the bridge?
So long.
Get over here. You don't play hockey? It doesn't matter. Get over. Yeah.
We need a right shot D.
Yeah.
that would be funny. Anyway, final words before we go on break.
I can't be anything but excited for this, right? Best on best is what we've been asking for a long time. We were so close to getting it in 2020. Yeah, in 2020, right? That season after the bubble, we were like a month or two out. We were talking Jack Campbell, starter for Team USA, right?
Ugh.
Like that's what we were talking about. Everyone was ready to go crazy over Tom Wilson making the team and Zach Hyman. We were on the verge of those rosters, and then COVID came and reared its ugly head. So I'm pumped. I can't wait to do like roster projections. I know so many people already have, but that's my favorite stuff.
Right.
I
Well,
I don't know what else. I don't know what else we could say other than like it's been a long time coming. It's been 10 years, right? Dude, 10 years we were in high school, right? Now
No,
me and
not even in high school.
not even
elementary.
in
We're
Oh
eighth grade.
man.
oh, wow,
Yeah.
right? Now me and Cristian in graduate school, Bryan's in law school. Like, you know, shit
Different
changes.
people, totally different people since the last
So
time.
much changes over 10 years, man. Like, it's crazy.
And hey, that's the biggest thing too. Like the countries themselves, their rosters are going to be different. Like the U.S. will be pushing hard, right?
Yeah.
So it's like other countries too. Like it's going to be a bloodbath, and I can't wait. I cannot
When you
wait.
put it like that, like the States specifically, the star of the team was like Parise, Kane, guys like that. These guys don't even sniff the roster anymore.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like Crosby might be the only return from that 2014 Canada team.
Hey,
So this was a
Marchand.
stat. Yeah, this was a stat that someone put out. I cannot remember. So sorry to whoever it was on Twitter. 47 players are still active in the NHL that played in that Olympics in 2014. So but that's across
47.
all of the countries. 47.
Wow.
47.
That's a
When
lot
you
more
think
than I
about it, like
thought.
think about like Sweden, right? Like
Yeah.
Ekman Larson, Hedman, Carlson, like that's
True.
like the right. So I know, but like on Canada, I don't know if we have that many returnees. It's like you said, like it's Crosby,
It's just
maybe
Crosby.
Doughty,
Maybe
Burns.
Burns.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
that.
The names are flowing.
Oh, I think that's a good place to end it. We'll go on a quick break. All right, we are back from break. I didn't get to go to this event, but I know two guys that did, and they're right here with you right now. Dave, Cristian.
Who's that?
What?
I'm
you know,
looking for the guys. Yeah.
you guys
Dude,
got the opportunity to go to the All-Star game, man. Like that is insane. That's like a childhood
Well,
dream.
quite literally
not the
opportunity of a
game, but
lifetime.
yeah, part of
Well,
it
you
to
know what
be
I
there
mean.
for the weekend, right? Like any
Yeah.
part of the weekend. This is something that hasn't been around. At least like for me, being a September birthday, I was not born when the last All-Star game was here,
Neither was
right?
I. I don't
Yeah.
think any of us were.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
None of us. It was the year we were born, but none of us were even born yet. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's literally been once in a lifetime so far. Yeah, we were lucky enough to get tickets ahead of time, up in the 300s, but like a fantastic view. Like I always say that, even that goes for like Jays games at the Rogers Center. You get a ticket that is a not obstructed view. I don't care where you put me. Like you can have a great time. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like we had a great view of the PWHL, like the showcase at the end, like just clear view. So you could not go wrong with any seat in the house. Atmosphere was good. I think what was the attendance? I think they announced it was like
16?
16,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, what were your biggest like takeaways from the draft night?
One thing I did want to say, in terms of
Yeah.
seating, the best seats to have in a hockey arena, everybody was like, "Oh, you're on the boards, whatever." No, it is if you can get them in the middle, like dead center, basically down center ice, upper bowl maybe like 20 rows up, or anywhere in the lower bowl 20 like up to like 20 rows up, or in the upper bowl for like the first 10 rows. That is the sweet spot. You get
Yeah.
all the action. There's no obstructive views. I know at Scotiabank, if you go up any higher than like 15 rows, you are
Start
seeing
getting a lot of roof.
yeah, you're seeing a lot of the press boxes basically.
Lots of speakers.
Dead center, that is exactly where you want to sit. Like down center ice. We were kind of like just off
Off to the
center ice,
right.
but doesn't matter. Point still
Near the
stands.
blue line.
Dude, okay, my one big takeaway from the night, unfortunately, is a bit of a sour one. So we did, full disclosure, we did kind of miss a bit of the draft.
We got
And
there like I'd say midway through.
that's just like young adult planning time. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
we didn't prep well enough for that. But whatever, we got in there well enough. But I would have they started with the draft, which is high intensity, high whatever. You got all your celebs out, and then you transition to more of a reflective time. They brought out the I think it's the last 5 remaining members of the 1967.
There are some they just couldn't make it.
Okay, so there are more. I was under the impression it was those 5 that were left.
I think it was like Frank Mahovlich just had like hip surgery. So.
Oh, okay. So there was only 5. There the list is shorter than most alumni Stanley Cup winning teams could be, right? But they brought out those 5, and it's a time of reflection, and those guys had a lot of looking forward to the future for Leaf fans. Like, they clearly want to see this team also win a Stanley Cup, like they brought joy to the city back in the 60s. To transition from that high event energy to a reflective, a bit more somber, just because those guys lost a dear friend in Johnny Bauer a few years ago. There's another player off the top. Red Kelly just passed away recently as well, who's a member of that squad. It felt a little bit more somber. Maybe you could have used that to start and then go into the festivities. Maybe do that another time. I don't know how they wanted to do it. It's not that I didn't like that whole event, but that could have been probably my biggest change from the night. And I'm not saying that just because we missed parts of the draft. That's on us, not on them.
I think it's like you said though, Dave. Like, for us, we listened to those guys. It was really cool to hear their thoughts. But for the casual fan, probably not like the best flow for the event, right?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's talk about our predictions. And I'm curious, Bryan, did you have anyone in mind that you thought was going to go last in the draft before it happened? Who did you think was going to be that guy?
Just looking at the rosters, I thought it was going to be Petrano.
Okay, yeah.
So you're close.
Yeah, me and Dave had this conversation on the last pod. We had a little prediction about who we thought was going to be last. I went Crosby. I said that they might try to meme the old man, make him sit the entire event out. And Dave, you went.
I went like Leaf. I went like Leaf related, like hate. So I said
killers.
Like could have been like Nick. Could have been anybody from like Nick Suzuki to like the guys.
Bobrovsky.
The guys from Tampa. The guys from Boston. But I was wrong. Actually, one of my picks was like maybe they let like Cooch go like throughout the draft, and he was picked first by was it Quinn Hughes, like the Hughes team.
Yeah.
So there goes that prediction, right? But then I kind of conceded at the end. I was like, yeah, it's probably just gonna be somebody who's just not at that caliber. You know what I mean? And
so the final 4, it ended up being Bjorkstrand, Vetrano, Trocheck.
It was such a cop out. I can't
remember.
It's such a cop out.
So did you see this, Bryan, or no?
No, I didn't. I have no idea who went where.
So the final 4, they got rid of all of the shame, all the embarrassment, and they made the final 4 guys, because there's 4 teams. They just made them all hold envelopes and like open it up and see what teams were on. So there was no last pick overall. Boo. Which was it was a little bit of a bummer.
Boo.
So yeah, boo for that. We got I know, like that's part of the fun. We gotta talk about the celebrity coaches here, the GMs here. Couple really good names. Obviously Bieber, Will Arnett, Michael Bublé, Tate McRae, fan favorite in our section, Dave, definitely.
Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah.
She did a great job. No, but like we gotta talk about Michael Bublé. This guy was like Michael Bublé.
Did you see this, Bryan?
Over the place.
Okay, good. It was on every fucking social media.
Dude, it was. Yeah, I was about to say it. This was that was a clip. So Michael Bublé admitted at a press conference that this guy, he was just talking like random nonsense about his fantasy hockey team, and he did so as well during the game. And me,
Random
like
nonsense the whole night. That was the first thing I
all
noticed.
all of us, like in our, like there was nine of us that went down, and all of us kind of like looked at each other and was like, what is this guy talking about right now? And
For
so
his hair,
it turns out that Michael Bublé was high on mushrooms, as he said it himself. He thought he was
allegedly,
microdosing. Yeah,
allegedly.
he thought he was microdosing apparently, but apparently
Yeah,
he was macrodosing, because that guy was spaced out of his
yeah,
mind. And you know what? If you're Michael Bublé, do whatever you want, man. The guy's
yeah.
made Grammy-winning songs, hit records. Do whatever you want.
I
He
thought
actually
like
is
he
a
was
good
just going like for some really bad jokes. Like I thought he was just had like a terrible
no.
comedian. Like no, dude.
I I
Listen, it makes
think
it so
you
much better now.
it makes yeah, I think you could excuse him now for it, because he had
Yes,
some
yeah,
bad
no, it was bad.
one-liners, like
It's
very
really bad.
awkward one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll excuse him now if that is the case. And hopefully he's coming out and just not just saying that because he just doesn't have a personality, because we've seen him on commercials around Canada. It seems like he actually does have a like those bubbly commercials that he's in, kind of
It's
funny.
Blade, Dave. Come on, come
Yeah,
on.
like
No.
they're kind of funny. So
They
I'm
are.
willing
They're
to
not bad.
bet it wasn't just him that was causing those absolute awful jokes that he was
Be
giving.
Beebs had some awful one-liners too. Like David Amber went to him right after the roster was made. He's like, Faber, what do you think about your roster? Great. That
Yeah,
was it. That was the entire
I,
quote.
I, they weren't as much one-liners as much as they were like one-worders,
One
basically.
worders. You're absolutely right. There was it was like, all right, Beebs, who are we picking here? It's like Austin. Who are we picking? Like it was not Beebs. Not a great performance. Don't know what was up there, but anyways, yeah,
Standout,
that was
standout of the four, Christian.
Oh,
Tim McRae.
Tater,
Tate McRae,
Tater.
MVP of the Tater was the MVP of the celebrity coaches. 100%.
Oh
100%.
yeah, oh
Will
yeah.
Arnett pretty good too, repping the Leafs on the Oilers team. Like kudos to Will. They all did a good job. And I think for the most part, they were a little bit cringe, but you expect that with any type of like any type of celebrity that you're bringing into a sports event. But I thought for NHL standards, they did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
better than probably most years. I'll be honest.
Yeah, so well done NHL on that little format or whatever. Apparently on TV it was a different experience. Audio wise, apparently everyone's mics were going at the same time. So you'd catch like Quinn Hughes talking in the middle of stuff or whatever. So I don't know what was up there. We didn't obviously get to see the TV side of things. So yeah,
Mhm.
Would you guys
definitely a
go
good
again?
night. I would for $40. Like that's what we paid. Like $40 to sit in Scotiabank Arena. You cannot go wrong for whatever you're seeing. And then yeah, PWHL showcase, free 20 minutes of
Very good.
hockey, pretty entertaining stuff, breakaways galore, some goalie botched saves. But like good hockey and entertaining
Yeah,
hockey. Can't go wrong with that.
they tried the Sonny Milano flip, right?
Yeah, the Michigan.
Didn't come
Someone
out
tried the
though, but
Michigan. Yeah.
yeah.
And yo, some of those players got some huge ovations. Like Sarah Nurse, probably the loudest ovation of the entire night, to be honest. At least
Also,
when we were there.
shout out to MPP Marie-Philippe Poulin, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
And
like she stands out so much compared to some of the like she is one of the best female hockey players I think I've ever seen. Like,
yeah,
granted, Haley Wick, but
it's
wow,
her and Wick. That's it.
yeah,
Like
that's it.
that's the combo for GOAT. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was like the fan experience in terms of like the venues, the fun areas, like that kind of stuff? Or you guys didn't really check out that stuff out?
We like we said, we kind of got there a little bit late, so we didn't get to check out too much stuff. But they had changed some stuff in front of the arena at Maple Leaf Square. They had some stuff going on there. You see advertisements for the game everywhere, man, and like buses, subway, just every
What?
single spot you can
Yeah.
expect.
We were trying to get
Yeah,
on the Rap subway like for
yeah.
like 2 weeks that they were promoting it. We could never get on the subway. That they had one
We
subway car
passed
that was
it.
wrapped, and we passed like
Yeah,
two or three times.
yeah. So listen, I think they did a good job. Toronto was a good host city. Surprise, surprise. So listen, Bat, man, like Toronto does good stuff for you. Just reminding you over here, okay?
How was
Uh,
how
I
was
was
your
gonna
event
say,
yesterday? You guys have fun
yeah, I
there?
was about to say, like, let's get into the
Yeah.
skills comp next because I
Yeah.
think the skills comp was honestly not a bad show. I granted we didn't watch it with sound, and I think
Oh, so you
watching it
did the
without
Bryan.
sound, yeah, watching it without sound, I think was a bit better because we were just kind of like able to talk to ourselves. We didn't have to listen to
Yeah.
whatever panel was on.
And it was good for like the shock effect where it's like we'd be discussing like, oh, who's like for the shootout, who's Willie gonna pick? Who's he gonna pick as his goalie or whatever? Who's Quinn Hughes gonna pick? Is Quinn Hughes gonna about to shoot on Demko? Like that's what we thought at first, right? So it was cool to get the shock effect of not having sound. The only thing we missed is like BX interviews. That's the one thing that we missed out on with no
Yeah.
sound. Did you catch any of it yesterday, Bryan, or no?
Very little. Very. I just
Very
know
little.
that
Yeah.
Quentin Hughes beat out McCarr by like a tenth of a second or something.
Yeah, that was in the
Fast skater.
this fastest skater. Dave, did you have a favorite moments, events, or least favorite? Like what was was there a letdown? Like I think we can all agree like Cooch was the biggest like
Yeah, biggest letdown for sure. So I
yeah.
guess we'll get into that. But one of my favorite events is the fastest skater. I like if I'm watching the Olympics, I'm watching the speed skating in the winter and I'm watching track and field in the summer. I for some reason I love watching those events. And last night we had something that like who was it that was like was it Quinn Hughes that was 0.001 second
What
off
a
the
thousandth
leader?
of a second off of McCarr.
Oh man,
Yeah.
like that
And
is
those two are tied to the hip like already comparisons like since the
yeah,
draft year. Like
yeah.
yeah.
And McCarr just narrowly edges out
Other way
Quinn
around.
Hughes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, it
Quinn
was
beat
Quinn
McHale.
Ooh.
Quinn beat McHale?
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
then
You got the story
Quinn
right. You
like
gotta change the names.
okay. Okay, but I mean, regardless, like we're watching that in real time, and like if you're watching going from the time to like the skates and that, it's just like, oh, it's so good. Everything else, I think, even like all the events were they were out like kind of they were basic, but to the point of not being like uh too like just mundane basically, and they weren't
Yeah.
so convoluted like they've kind of attempted in years past to some credit and to some fail, right? Everything was, I think all the events, the Toronto bias I guess here, they just hit that sweet spot of being entertaining and not being too over the top.
Yeah, they were true to hockey. They were true to hockey skills, and a lot of kudos to not only McDavid for winning it, but apparently helping to set this up and kind of being the brainchild behind this with Bevan. So,
Man,
well
he had
done,
to show
McDavid.
up if he wanted it, right?
Well, listen, man. Yeah, it was his event, and like he owned it. He owned it big time. He won 3 events. He won fastest skater. I think he won the stick handling one, and then he won the
Yeah.
obstacle course. So,
Well,
very McDavid events to win.
well,
Yeah.
one last thing. I just have a little complaint. Uh, Tragically, obviously, Kucherov clearly didn't want to be there, and I know you need a representative for every team, so another bolt could have went in place. But the Capitals fan base really tried to send Dylan Strome home for this event. Of course, unfortunately, it didn't happen. But at least Tom Wilson got to represent. So
I guess Tom Wilson just like more like
was there.
league. Yeah, he's got more league buzz than like a Dylan Strome. For the skills comp though, like they could have threw anyone in for Cooch. Like that's what made me mad about Kucherov. Kind of the non-show yesterday. He didn't have to
Too.
he didn't have to participate in that. He didn't have to, man. As far as I know, all these guys are volunteers. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know why Cooch was in here if he quite obviously didn't want to be. So that's my one complaint. Like, because
Listen,
Cooch could have, if he wanted to, he could have done some crazy stuff too last night.
yeah,
The USU,
100%.
the USU got harder shot.
Hardest shot, was it Kale? I think Kale
Yes,
won
it
that,
was.
no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hardest shot was good. It's really interesting that like we don't have guys who even touch Shea or Chara, at least in the All-Star thing. So that's the one thing where it's like I still want to see who's got the hardest shot in the NHL because I don't think we answered that question last night.
No.
Right? There's probably guys in the league that have way harder shots. Give me Radko Gudas out there and Philip Hronik. So Yeah, but the goalies were cool. Bobrovsky, no, it was Georgiev who got 100K for stopping 9 McDavid shots out of 10.
Yeah,
Like,
he made
well
the most
done.
saves. If you were to tell me which goalie would make the most saves, it wouldn't be the person who was going up against McDavid. Like that would
McDavid,
probably be
yeah,
the bottom of my list. And it
yeah.
looked like it was like McDavid went 2 for 2 on the first 2 shots, and I was like, oh man, Georgiev's about to get like,
Lit up.
the red light tan they call it, right?
Yeah.
But
I thought
he's
that was the
still
best event, though, eh? Like the
that
shootout.
the one-on-one. I like that.
That gave
Yeah,
us the most like oh moments, right? Like you were like he pulled up Willie with the Forsberg to end it and win that event. That
yeah.
was good. That was good.
Especially because they replaced a former fan favorite. Like that was the shootout thing, like the shootout competition before. For them to replace an event that brought like that event over the years has brought a lot of eyes on just because of like how outlandish it was getting.
Calling the
But
It's a
kids.
very, very clippable event. Very
yeah,
clippable.
for them to replace it and I think do it better because they kind of just had buy-in from everybody to like be like, hey, instead of doing this gimmick, why don't we just show off, the beautiful side of hockey? Like we don't need all the extra fluff in order to make this look pretty. It's already a pretty sport, man. So I appreciated that. Uh there's like you said, Christian, I think that moment alone, like we're in the bar and everybody that's sitting around the bar table was watching the events, right? A lot of people had cleared out after the Chicklets guys left. Like they left to go to the game, which is a 10 like all in all 10-minute commute from where we were at King Taps. And so the people that were left were just kind of glued to people are there for the skills comp, right? And that was the only event where we just had constant, it was like every single player had like an like moments just because like you never knew like what was gonna happen. Like William Nylander goes up and did he have Demko? Is that who he
Yeah,
picked?
Talbot. He chose Talbot.
Talbot. Dude, he put Talbot on like he put Talbot's jock in the rafters like multiple times. And
Yeah.
so did the other guys. Like it's just like it's great to see.
Yeah, well
Right.
done NHL on an All-Star event, which isn't something we say often. I remember having this exact conversation last year, and none of us having watched any of it, and not even knowing who won half of the events. I think we didn't even know who won hardest shot. We were drawing a blank. I vividly remember that last year.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
fast forward a year later, sure it was in Toronto. That'll definitely be part of the bias. Sure, we were at one of the events, but it sounds like around the league that this was a well-received event.
Before we head off, any closing words? Any last words?
Looking forward to the next not half of the season, but
Yep.
unofficial second half. Trade deadline time, baby. Let's
We're heading in.
go. More
We're just about
trades.
time. We're turning third. We're looking for the home stretch now for the regular season at least, right? So
Yeah.
over halfway. Yeah, it's definitely gonna heat up from here on out. We're gonna be heating up, me and Christian especially, with our workload. Brian with his law school load is gonna
My
be heating up.
goodness.
Yeah.
It's been in the oven. It's been like it's a slow cook for Bryan. They're cooking a roast in there, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be a while.
Oh, there's a law school event, and I wasn't there because I was working, but I won an award for most likely not to use their law degree.
What was the rationale? What did your buddies tell you after? They said like, "Oh, Bryan, it's because you actually suck, and we think you're gonna drop out of the program." I'm sure they said, "No, Bryan, it's
No,
because
no, I
it's
do
there."
so many
Yeah,
other things. But
exactly. Yeah.
anyway, shout out to Fubo, shout out to Razor, NHLShop.ca. If you want to get your All-Star jerseys there, you can grab them now.
Get your
That's a
Oliver
wrap.
Bjorkstrand
Get
All-Star
your
jersey,
get
okay?
your Tate McRae All-Star jersey.
Oh yeah.
That's not a bad shout. That's
That
a wrap.
isn't a bad show because I might go buy it after this. So
That's a wrap. We'll end it right there.